All right, I think it's close enough for government work. So I'll do a little introduction here, and then Luis is going to take the floor. So, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name's Elliot. I'm the co-founder of Empirical 360. And so we're a marketing agency for attorneys. And what I like to do for our clients is schedule in outside coaches that have a perspective that we don't have, right? And so I'm pretty selective, honestly, with who I like to bring in. And I've watched Luis's content for a long time now. I've been trying to get him on for a long time. So it's exciting for him to be here. And honestly, personally, for me, this is a really cool one because, seven figures is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's still really hard in the seven figure journey, right? Like when you're multiple seven figures, it's difficult. And we don't know things yet that he knows. And so, what I'm hoping here is he's going to bring a very rare perspective that people don't get to encounter all the time. And so he's going to tell you what it takes to get to eight figures. He's personally done it. He's run multiple companies now, and I'll let him introduce himself better than I can. But I'm excited for it. I think you guys should be excited for it. Definitely ask questions, reach out to his team, pick their brain. Like they really know what they're doing here. So without further ado, Luis, it's all yours. I'll be here to moderate chat questions as they come in towards the end.
All right, awesome. Elliot, thank you. I appreciate this, and I'm glad we were able to schedule it because you were right, man. I was dancing around the calendar for a little bit, but welcome, guys. We're here to talk about what it takes to build an eight-figure firm. I'm really excited about this topic. It's probably the greatest passion that I have in life right now is helping other people achieve this. And it was cool when I did it. It's even more cool seeing a system that helps other people do it. And I want you to stay till the end, okay? Before I get started, I'm going to say this. I'm giving three offers. Like it's a give. I'm not asking for a penny from anybody. Nobody's going to have to open their wallet. Nobody's going to have to put out their credit card. Nothing. It's three offers. You don't want to miss it. Those of you who are attending live are going to get exclusive access to these offers with the offer code. And originally I told Elliot I was going to make one offer. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to sweeten the pot. If you show up, we're going to make this worth your while. And in one of the Facebook groups, I said, if you showed up, you were going to get $100,000 of value. And I still believe that. It may even be more than $100,000 of value. But we're going to talk today about what it takes to build an eight-figure firm. And you may be wondering something. Who is this guy, right? Who is this guy? I've never heard of him. I don't know where he's from, except Avia. I saw that Avia was on the line. She knows me. But other than her, people are wondering, who is this guy? And that's a legitimate question because what gives me the authority? And I'm going to walk through that first before we really jump into it. And I do want to preface this entire presentation in saying that I teach every one of these elements in depth. So what I'm going to show you today is a very brief overview. I mean, we're surfing across the top of the ocean, right? It takes me an hour to just develop every single one of these individual points. And so who am I? Well, I'm married. I have 4 kids. That's part of the reason why I had to build an eight-figure firm to begin with, because like you got to build it big if you want to have 4 kids. And but yeah, I'm a family man first. I absolutely love my family. One of the reasons why I built an eight-figure firm and why I'm helping other people build the firm is because I believe that at 8 figures, your entire life changes. At that point, you're making multiple 7 figures in personal income. That's pretty cool. You get to live the life that you want, whether it's multiple houses, private jet, exotic cars, without the constraints of finances, meaning you can do it all, right? You can have the chef, you can have the family assistant, you can have the nanny, you can have the house cook. I mean, you can have everything done for you, cleaned and clothes and all that stuff. And so it's not really about material things. Like I'm not a material person. Some people would reject that, if they know my lifestyle, but it's not about materials. It's about quality of life. How much time do you have to give to your family? How much time do you have? I mean, I have 4 kids, like they demand a lot. They're in band and baseball. And I have my littlest one who's turning 2 on Saturday, or excuse me, on Monday. She's going to be going into gymnastics probably. It's like they require our time. So I wanted to be there for them, and I didn't want to be a slave to my business. And so this system allows you to not only let the business work for you, but do it in a very short period of time. Now, I'm not going to get into the CEO calendar here, but the CEO calendar essentially is a 20-hour calendar where you can run an 8-figure business without having to work more than 20 hours a week. That's for a different lesson, but this is a way to create a system where the business works for you. So that's who I am. I've written 3 books, The King of Growth, which is a book on how to dominate your market. It's a marketing book. It talks about how to strategize your marketing. We'll get into that a little bit today. And then this will be part of the free offer as well. But this book is just dripping with marketing plan information. If you read this, I believe you actually can execute a multi-seven-figure business just reading the book. But obviously, sometimes you need a little bit of more help and coaching and so forth. I wrote a book called It Has to Hurt. It talks about my 8 business failures, failed relationships, failed partnerships, and how you can accept the journey along the way. And then I wrote a book called The 8-Figure Law Firm, 9 Principles for Exponential Growth. That was the genesis really of 8-Figure Firm and how I launched this business. And so this is part of who I am. I'm the host of the Guts and Glory Show. So if you like podcasts, check me out on the Guts and Glory Show. I release about 30 shows a year, and where we talk about growing your business. Again, I just want to deliver free value for you guys today. So these are all resources that don't cost very much, or they're free. I'm also a speaker nationwide. I talk on topics regarding legacy. Our business is focused around this idea: your legacy awaits, the legacy for your family and your children and your community. And so I talk about legacy, entrepreneurship, how to overcome trials, and so forth. So why should you listen to me? Well, first of all, I was the managing partner of a multi-7-figure firm that I left. I started my own firm. I grew it to 7 figures in 1 year. And then I joined a partnership, and we grew that firm to multiple 8 figures, where I was the managing partner and COO and created this system that I'm going to discuss today. I'm now the owner of 8-Figure Firm Consulting. As you can see, our motto is law firm consulting that builds legacies. Our goal is not to make you more money, although everybody wants to make a little bit more money. Our goal is actually to help you create the legacy, the life that you want, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So that's what we do. Now, we've helped 25 law firms reach 8 figures in predictable revenue. You'll see how difficult this is. Our law firms in the last 3 years have generated over $1 billion in revenue, okay? That's a massive, massive impact in our communities, and I'm all about community impact. It's one of the things that drives me. My personal vision statement is to lead a life of significance, and that's why I do this, because I believe the reach that we have when we work collectively together in a community is far greater than what I can do on my own. And the thing that I'm the most proud of is not the law firm that I built that I've now left to work on 8-Figure Firm. The thing that I'm the most proud of is that last year, the 8-Figure Firm community represented 50,000 clients nationwide. 50,000. Like, we're talking about massive amount of impact with families around the nation. This is our 8-Figure Firm community. We pretty much have the Eastern Coast. So if you're on the West Coast, let me know, because we love to work with you as well. But we're making our way across the country. We represent everything from trademarks, personal injury, veterans disability, estate planning, immigration, copyright, tax, bankruptcy, elder law, family law, civil litigation, workers' comp, property damage, business law, nonprofit, criminal, and wrongful termination. So the system works for everyone. So these are the reasons why I believe that you should listen to this presentation today. And again, for those of you guys joining after I made the offer announcement at the end, $100,000 value that I'm going to be offering you. So be sure to stay to the end, because you're going to have exclusive access to that offer. Who's this presentation for? Who's this presentation for? This is a big one, because not everybody wants to build an 8-figure firm. Everybody wants the benefit of an 8-figure firm, but not everybody wants to put in the work. And I always say that your work ethic has to match your ambition. If your ambition is for an 8-figure firm, you have to have the work ethic of an 8-figure firm. Now, eventually you can saddle into the CEO calendar, work 20 hours a week. I just recently had a law firm who is in that position, sent me a message and says, I'm not doing anything in my law firm. It's making me millions. I'm going to go buy another law firm. I said, okay, let's talk about it. So we have people who are now they don't even know what to do with themselves. So this presentation is for people who want to do the work to get to 8 figures so that they can remove themselves from that equation and then follow their passion, which was the recipe that I had. All right. So who's this for? Highly ambitious law firm owners who are tired of the status quo. That's number one. That's who it's for. If you're a highly ambitious person, tired of the status quo, this is going to be for you. Law firm owners that feel that like they've hit a plateau. So a large portion of the people we help have hit a plateau. They've been hitting 3 million a year for many years, or 5 million a year for many years. This presentation is going to be for you. Law firm owners that are scared of the future. And if you're not scared of the future, or if you've not thought about the future, you probably should be scared of the future. And again, for a different presentation, but lawyers, are in decline. Lawyers are in decline. Over the last 3 years, the lawyer membership has declined by 0.09%, and law school enrollment is down 8% nationwide. And 21 states said they have less lawyers today than they had in 2021. 21 out of 50 states. Okay. Lawyers are in decline. There's a reason for that. One of the reasons is growing population. 14% of lawyers are 65 years and older, and they're retiring, right? We have the baby boomers. We're in the middle of the baby boomer retirement phase, and 40% of all lawyers who are working today will be retired in the next 15 years. I'm going to say that again. 40% of all lawyers that are working today will be retired in 15 years. And technology is taking over. And so if you're not scared about the future, you may want to rethink why not. But if you are scared, this presentation is for you. Law firm owners who are earning less than 1 million in recurring personal income. If you are not making 1 million in recurring personal income in your law firm, this presentation is for you. Law firm owners that want an 8-figure firm, this presentation is also for you, because I think I'm going to show you how to build it and how to do it. And then lastly, law firm owners that want more peace of mind. If you want peace of mind. So if you check any of these, if you go, I'm not ambitious, I'm not hitting a plateau, I'm not scared, I make over 1 million, I don't want an 8-figure firm, and I don't really like peace of mind, then you could probably log off. But if you want any of these things, then stay on, because we're going to talk about those things here in a second. All right. Okay. So who am I talking to then? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. I wonder if anybody knows where this is written. Emma Lazarus. This is written on the Statue of Liberty, right? So that's who this presentation is for. It's for the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, right? Because we want to be free. Nobody starts a business to be a slave to their business. I've never met anybody who says, I can't wait to work 80 hours a week for the rest of my life. Yes, you work 80 hours a week, but that's not the purpose that we build our business. So that's what this presentation is for. Building an 8-figure business is hard. It's like pushing a rock up a hill. It's not the same as stacking 7 figures. Just because you get to 7 figures doesn't mean you can get to 8 figures. That's a common misconception. I've worked with people who they get to 7 figures, they get to multi 7 figures, and they decide they don't need any coaching, they don't need any consulting, they can just make it on their own. And the reality is it's not, you can't just do what you did to get to 7 figures to get to 8 figures. There's a lot more that goes into it, and you have to be the leader that is capable of managing that. And when I go through all these points, you're going to see that it's a tremendous amount of leadership that is required in order for you to go from that 7-figure to that 8-figure. And before everyone jumped on, Elliot and I were talking about how much of a bear it is between 3 and 8 million. Like, that is an absolute monster, 3 to 8 million. It's the hardest part of the business. And if you read my book, you'll understand why. From 0 to 3, it's about client acquisition. From 3 to 8, it's about people acquisition. From 8 on, it's about leadership acquisition. But people get stuck in that 3 to 8. And the reason is most people can't emotionally cope with someone resigning, with someone leaving, with having to fire someone. And from 3 to 8 million, that's going to happen a lot. My general projection, if you're anywhere between 3 and 8 million, is that you're going to experience 50% turnover by the time it's all over. So if you start 3 million with 50 people, by the time you get to 8 million, no matter what your employment was, there was a 50% turnover rate. That's emotionally taxing. And so you better rise up as a leader if you want to be able to handle that. You have to read and associate. You have to take on more audiobooks. Like, I'm a big believer in personal growth. And so you're only going to be able to grow to your capacity. That's John Maxwell's law of expansion. We only can grow to our capacity. We can only expand to our capacity. So if we want to expand beyond where we are, then we have to be able to grow. And so that's something that's really important to understand. Here's the thing. 1 of 667 firms actually reach 8 figures in predictable revenue. So 667 firms start today. Only one's going to get to 8 figures. What's worse is that Small Business Administration says only 25% of those firms will be in business in 5 years. Only 1% of those firms, 1.25% of those firms will actually make $1 million in revenue. So forget about 10 million. If you're in the 1 million, you're already in the 1%. To get to the 10 million, 0.15%. And in today's society, only 4% of firms active today are at 10 million and above. I mean, we're talking about a very, very small fraternity of people. Very small. This is not happening. See, what happens is that on social media, it's easy for people to be like, 8 figures, and I'm making this, and I'm doing the private jet. Most people are not doing 8 figures. They're just not. It doesn't matter what they say. Everybody can't be doing 8 figures, okay? And as a person who has helped 150 law firms, most of them were not doing 8 figures, okay? They were living okay lives, but they were not doing 8 figures. It's a very, very hard thing to do. So what do we do then? If it's very, very hard, what do we do? I'm going to give you an 8-point setup, an 8-point system that you can follow that's going to help you build an 8-figure firm. And what I want you to do is if you have a sheet of paper, take out your sheet of paper, and on the left-hand column, you're going to write the idea that I'm proposing, and then on the right side of the page, you're going to write if you have it or if you don't have it. Okay. Now, this is the part where I normally take over an hour to even explain these subsections, but I'm going to do the best that I can to give you as thorough of an explanation in the time that we have. And I'm going to leave 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So that way, if I miss something, you at least have an opportunity to ask. So be sure to stay for that portion. So the 8 points that you have to do in order for you to be able to develop an eight-figure firm. Now, the amount of time it takes you to develop these 8 points will dictate the amount of time it will take you to get to 8 figures, because you cannot reach 8 figures without doing everything that I'm about to propose. So the first thing is having a solid foundation. Now, somebody in here is going to say, if this man says anything about vision, mission, values, I'm gonna end the call right now. Like, I know somebody's going to say that, but I'm going to tell you a story of a man named Horst Schulze. I don't know if anybody knows Horst Schulze. He was the founder and first CEO of the Ritz-Carlton. And I had the opportunity to meet him one time because he was working in our building, and he blessed me with the opportunity to sit down with him and have lunch. And we asked him the secret to success. And he said, the secret to a big and profitable business and the secret to success is having your vision super clear. Vision super clear, where people can log on and they can lock arms with you. Because remember, to build an 8-figure firm, you got to go through 3 to 8 million, which is a people problem. You need a vision that connects people. And so that vision has to be something that people can subscribe to. So the vision for 8-figure firm is to be the leading authority in law firm building. So we spend a lot of time educating. We spend a lot of time creating content. We spend a lot of time putting out videos and blogs and resources and courses, because our vision is to be the leading authority in law firm building. And the people that I attract, they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of something that's the leading authority in law firm building. So I would ask you, what's your vision? Does your team know? Usually when I go into a business, I'll say, hey, can you tell me what your vision is? Yeah, let me look in the file cabinet here, dust it off, and then they tell me what their vision is. They don't even believe the vision, right? So you got to have a vision. The second thing he said, he sat us down, he said, listen, not only do you have to have a vision, you have to have a mission that is actionable. Vision and mission, not the same thing. Vision is this overarching thing that you want to achieve. Mission is, how do you actually achieve it? That's the mission. How do I actually achieve it? How do I actually get to where I want to go? It's actionable. So for us, how do we know that we're becoming the leading authority in law firm building? We have a mission that is to help 100 law firms reach 8 figures in predictable revenue. That's our mission. Like, that's what we want to do. Every day we get up and we say, we want to help 100 law firms reach 8 figures in predictable revenue. Well, what's your mission? What are you trying to do in your firm that is going to be meaningful to achieving the vision that you have? And think about this. This is part of your messaging. When you're out there putting an ad and you tell people, I'm a family law firm, our vision is to make sure that divorces don't ruin your life. And the way we're doing that is we're guiding people through the process in a painless way, so that when they end with hope for the future. You can get employees bought into that, right? You can get people excited about that. And so you want to make sure that that mission is actionable and that it's very clear what it is that a person's supposed to do to reach the vision. Number 3, he said, you have to have core values. And for those of you guys who develop core values with your staff, I want you to scrap that and I want you to redo them. Your core values are what's core to you, the owner, the entrepreneur. What is core to me? What do I stand for? What do I believe? What do I think is important? Those are the core values that you want to talk about, because anything else, you can't have a support group of people who are not going to be with you in 10 years developing the core values with you. You need your own core values. What sets you apart? For me, it was extreme generosity. For me, it was living a life of significance. For me, it was leading with courage. For me, it was developing urgency and execution. Like, those were core things. And so when I'm hiring people, I go to them and I say, do you work with a sense of urgency? Tell me one time that you worked with urgency. Tell me one time that you were generous in your life. Give me an example, because those things are core to me, and that's how you're going to hire people. The last thing is service standards. Service standards. What is the minimum expectation that a client can expect from you? What are the service standards? And so one of our service standards is we never cancel a meeting. Big service standard in the consulting game. We never cancel a meeting. Another service standard, you get a response on your email within 24 hours if you're a client. Service standard. Another service standard, no voicemail policy. We don't allow voicemail. Somebody's going to answer that call. Service standard. Service standard, warm, welcoming reception at all times. Service standard, right? So what are your service standards? This is the foundation, right? Because you're going to create an 8-figure business. You need to have a vision that's overreaching. You need a mission that's actionable. You need core values that identify who you are. And then you need your service standards that tells the client the minimum expectation of working with your firm. So this is the solid foundation. And the more solid your foundation is, the bigger you can grow your business. Now, what determines the depth of your foundation? Very easy. The amount of people in your firm that are bought in and that know your vision, mission, core values, and service standards. If you have 25 people on your team and nobody knows these 4, your foundation's weak. Weak. You're not going to get to 8 figures. If you have 25 people and everybody's bought in, everybody's excited, people ready to go to work, you have a strong foundation. Now, I say this in a funny way, but we host these conferences. And after the conference, my team works obviously Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for these conferences. And so I give them off the following Friday, because that Monday I have a lot of activity from people who attended the conference. Last conference, Friday came along and everybody just worked. Everybody just worked. And finally, around 3 p.m., one of the employees in a group chat said, "Did you guys know we were off today?" Everybody's bought in. I love it. And I responded, I said, "Yeah, today was a day off. I don't know. Everybody was just working." And it was just like a joke. And I would ask the question, how many of you have a business where people think it's funny that they forgot that they had the day off? Where they were so bought in to what we're doing that they just worked through their PTO day. That's pretty powerful. I feel honored about that. And we're going to talk about culture here in a second, but that's the kind of buy-in you got to have. That's more solid that foundation is, the bigger you can grow your business. Number 2, predictable lead generation. And everybody likes this. Everybody's going to perk up right here. This is the part where we're going to release the gold, right? This is where we're releasing the gold. You can't build an 8-figure business if you don't have predictable lead generation. If you are a PI firm and you got a big case that earned you 8 figures, you're not an 8-figure business. You just got a case that earned you 8 figures. That does not make you an 8-figure firm. An 8-figure firm is a firm that has a predictable amount of leads, generating revenue that is predictable at the level of 10 million, period. That's the only way. You can argue with me all you want. It doesn't matter. I don't think you're an 8-figure firm. So just know that. An 8-figure firm is a firm that has predictable 8 figures in revenue because of predictable lead generation. 3 things here. The first one, you have to spend 25% of your revenues in marketing. Okay, Elliot's loving this, right? Spend that money. Spend the money, right? You got a lot of law firms out there spending 5%, 6%. You can't reach 8 figures on 5%. You just can't do it. You're not going to do it. It's just, it doesn't create enough momentum. It doesn't create enough lead generation. It doesn't create enough awareness, and it doesn't create enough predictability. So where does this 25% comes from? It comes from me working with 150 firms. It comes from me actually growing my own firm for 20 years. If you spend that amount, I call it a threshold number, meaning anything less than that is subject to not creating predictability. Anything more than that will definitely create predictability, but it's not necessary. Okay. So 25% is the threshold number that you should spend. If you're $1 million firm, your budget should be $250,000. If you're a $2 million firm, your budget should be $500,000. If you're a $3 million firm, $750,000. $4 million firm, it's $1 million. If you're not spending that amount, you're very unlikely to get predictable lead generation. So that's number 1. The second thing is strategy. You have to have the right strategy for branding and direct response. And I don't have time to get into the major differences in the categories of each of these, but branding is the type of marketing that you do to create awareness that doesn't necessarily lead to an immediate client. Direct response is not committed to branding. It's not committed to reputation. It's not committed to developing your online presence or personal presence, it's committed to only lead generation, it's going to get you a client immediately. You have to have the right mix. If you're 0 to 3 million, most of your money should be in direct response. If you're 3 to 8 million, you should be shifting into more of a branding strategy. And if you're 8 million and above, you should be almost completely in branding. 8-figure firm is 83% branding. We do very, very little lead generation. It's not necessary. We have a brand nationwide. That is going to be sufficient. And there's 2 benefits to branding. Number one is it makes it easier to sell, and it increases what you can charge. Makes it easier to sell, increases what you can charge. I have firms that I'm working with that for immigration cases are charging $15,000 to $20,000 per case because of the powerful brand that they have. Now, you don't get that from lead generation because lead generation doesn't create loyalty, but you still need to do lead generation. So it's not that you don't need to do it. It's just you need to ask yourself, where are you in that continuum? 0 to 3, 3 to 8, 8 and above, and what should be my split? So you got to get your strategy correct. And then the last thing is allocation. How much am I going to spend per channel? People always go to allocation first. They always start with allocation. I want to spend money on marketing. I'm going to spend $10,000 on TV or $10,000 on SEO or $10,000 on a billboard. Well, did you even ask what your split is first? Like, how much should you be spending on branding? How much should you be spending on direct response? And how much available budget do you have? Like, you may not even have the budget for that. And so I find that there are firms that have a $20,000 marketing budget per month, $1 million firm, $20,000 per month, and they're spending $10,000 to $12,000 on a radio ad because somebody convinced them that they needed to be on radio. They don't have the budget for the radio. They're not in a position where their strategy should be split that way. So it's really, really important if you want to create predictable leads that you know how much you have to spend, you have the right split based upon your levels, and that you spend it based upon the allocation strategy that we recommend. And if you want more information on that, it's in the book, and you can read upon the different strategies. The third thing is you got to have an intentional plan, right? So now you have your solid foundation. Now you have your predictable leads coming in because you're spending the right amount. But now you have to start creating some intentionality. You can't just do things on a whim. You can't just like, oh, this year I'm going to do X, Y, and Z thing. You have to start developing a plan. So the first plan you have to have are your company goals. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What are the company goals that you are trying to achieve? What is it that the overarching thing that you need done this year? That's number one. What are your company goals? From those company goals, you're going to develop projects. Those projects are going to inform the team on what needs to happen. So one of the company goals that we had several years ago was that we wanted to become a client-centric organization. And this goal came out of a big frustration. My sister got involved into an auto accident. And she called me and said, I need a lawyer. I said, absolutely. I'll get one of my best lawyers on the case. The case went to intake. Intake did the case. The case was file processed. And it went to a lawyer. But guess what? The lawyer was on vacation. Nobody told my sister. The lawyer came back, was overwhelmed, had too much to do, didn't call her. 30 days later, now I had talked to my sister a couple of times in that time period, but not about her case. I was just, I'm her brother. So I just talked to her about different things. And 30 days later, she calls me. She said, hey, I don't want to bother you, but like nobody's called me from your firm. And I almost lost it. I'm not going to lie. 30 days, the owner's sister had not received a call. Imagine how everyone else was being treated. And so if you want to have a client-centric organization, you better be intentional about it. And we set out to become a client-centric organization. And that's when we became very, very intentional about the touch points that every single client had. So what are your company goals? What's missing in your business? What do you need to be done? What are the projects that are going to come out of that? That's step one. Number two, you got to have a fully built out marketing plan. Earlier, I mentioned to get predictable leads, you need to spend 25% in a strategy that's consistent with your size, allocated based upon the allocation principles. But what's your plan? Who's your target audience? Why is it that they should hire you? What solution are you providing? Earlier, I was talking to somebody and they said, my target audience are people who need to get divorced and who have high net worth. I said, that doesn't tell me anything about who your target audience is. That could be anybody. Are they doctors? Are they lawyers? Are they blue collar? Are they white collar? Are they men? Are they women? Like, who are they? Who are these people that you're going after? Who's your avatar, your client avatar? What is the solution that you're finding for them? What problem do they have, and what's the solution? How are you going to reach them? What's the full plan? I understand we got to spend 25%, but what's the full plan? Is the plan so concrete that you can hand it to your marketing team and they know exactly what to do? Is the brand correct? Is the message correct? From beginning to end, from the time they see your ad to the time they speak to somebody in the office, is everything consistent? Internal and external brand integrity. You got to have that marketing plan if you want to get to 8 figures. You got to have a hiring plan. As you go through the $3 to $8 million gauntlet of people, you better have a plan for hiring. At that point, you probably have some sort of recruiter or sourcing agent who's helping you with hiring and firing. What's your hiring plan? What's the current inventory of your human capital, of your human resources? And what is your desired and necessary inventory of human resources? And there's an entire worksheet where you take your current employment and you ask the question, who do I need next? What do I need next? Who's next on the list that I need to hire? And then you put that in your hiring plan. What are they going to cost? And then lastly, when do I need to hire them? So who do I have? That's your current employment budget. What do I need next? That's the positions you need to hire and have job descriptions for. What will they cost? That's the payroll that you're going to expend. And when are you going to hire them? That's the time that you're going to bring them in. That's your hiring plan. The next thing, you got to have a business plan. Now, the business plan is going to incorporate your company goals, marketing plan, and hiring plan, but there's 8 additional elements to your business plan: problem summary, solution summary, facilities, inventory, technology, data, metrics, and analytics. You want to have all of that in your plan. You want to be asking the question, what is my cost of acquisition per lead? My cost of acquisition per qualified lead? My cost of acquisition per sign up? What is my average revenue that I'm generating per client? And how much do I have to spend in order to generate the clients that I need to get to 10 million? And so easy math, I know it's hard when you're not doing it illustratively, but easy math, if every client is worth 10,000 to get to 10 million, you need 1,000 clients. All right. So if you need 1,000 clients, what's the cost of acquisition? 1,000. Well, then how much do you have to spend? 1 million. So that's how we backwards plan. We need to spend 1 million to get 1,000 at 10,000 to generate 10 million. By the way, that's a phenomenal ROI, 10x. But and it's an example. I'm giving you the dream example of the ROI. But what we really want to have is a plan that clearly tells us what our cost of acquisition is, how many clients do we need in order to reach the revenue level that we want to reach. And the last thing is the budget. In your intentional plan, you got to have a budget. The budget is the financial representation of your business plan. You can't just build your business at the 8-figure firm level and have it sustainable without a budget. And remember, what you want is that when you get to 10 million and you're making $2.5 million, that you can walk away and somebody's presenting this to you. Your COO is presenting the company goals. Your CMO is presenting the marketing plan. Your chief people officer is presenting the hiring plan. Your business director is presenting the business plan, or maybe your COO. Your CFO is presenting the budget. And now you have your team of people who are presenting what you need, because that's super critical for you to be able to step away, is to have that leadership team, which is the next thing: leadership committed to execution. You cannot build an 8-figure firm by yourself. You cannot build it with 2 people. You need a group, a team of people who are committed to execution. Well, what does this team look like? There's 5 leaders that you have to have at 10 million. So as you're strategizing your hiring plan, you want to start asking the question, who do I need to hire in these particular buckets? The first one is a marketing lead. Whether you call them a marketing manager, a director of marketing, a CMO, an outside vendor who serves as your marketing lead, you have to have somebody who's driving your marketing, because your marketing has really 3 components to it. It's your brand appeal, and your spend. That's what your marketing is. Your brand is what your reputation. Your brand appeal is who do you attract? And then your spend, how much are you spending and how is it allocated? Somebody has to oversee that process. Somebody has to be responsible for the data and the analytics revolving around your marketing, because if not, if there's nobody responsible for it, it's very unlikely that you're going to create the efficiency that you need in your marketing spend. Number two, business operations lead. There's two different things, and I'll point the next one, legal operations. There's business ops and there's legal ops. Business ops is everything that has to do with the business unrelated to the practice of law, unrelated to the delivery of the product. The product is legal services. People who are involved in legal services, legal assistant, paralegal, attorney, that's legal operations. That's what that is. But HR, reception, marketing, sales, finances, business planning, that's business operations. The business operations feeds the machine, the legal operations. And so you got to have a leader who's leading your business operations, who's saying, we hit this profitability and we want this profitability next year, and we want this revenue next year. And this is what we have to do to feed our legal operations. And then the legal operations leader, what they do is they make sure that you have the best product. They make sure that the quality's there, that you don't get sued, that you don't have a bar complaint, that you don't commit malpractice, that you have the right staffing, that you have the right bedside manner and communication with the client. That's the interplay between those two leads. And if you don't have these two leads, you're that lead. So you're probably the acting business operations director and the legal operations director. That's a hard thing to do, because you're having to work on the business and in the business. We've heard that concept before. And so what we want to do is we want to get out of working in the business, legal ops, and move into business operations, and then eventually move out of business operations. And I can show you the people that should report to you on an organizational chart, but eventually you'll have 4 or 5 meetings a week, and that'll be the extent of all the meetings that you'll have. You need to have somebody overseeing the lawyers. I've always said this, managing 10 lawyers is harder than managing 100 people. It is absolutely the most difficult thing. They question everything. They're the hardest to get to buy in. They're the hardest to convince that change is necessary. I remember having a lawyer. It took us 2 years to convince him that he should start using the CRM instead of his email. But he was a great lawyer. So you work with them, right? 2 years. So lawyers are more difficult than 100 people. And it's just unfortunately true. You need to have somebody who oversees the lawyers. And then the last thing is the finance. You need to have somebody who oversees finance, somebody that you trust. So at 10 million, you'll have these leaders: marketing, business, legal, lawyers, finance. Now, these particular leaders, they grow from anywhere from managers to directors to VPs, all the way up to the C-suite, right? Chief marketing officer, chief operating officer, chief legal officer. Managing attorney is the title of a chief for the lawyers, and then chief financial officer. That's your C-suite right there. As you're getting to 10 million, you're going to be able to hire these C-suites. One of the reasons you can't hire these C-suites earlier than that is because you don't have the revenue to do it. And so you're having to deal with a lower tiered type of individual in order to get by. So you got to have leadership that's committed to execution in these 5 particular buckets for your business. And here's the thing: the speed of growth is tied to the speed of implementation. It feels tacky to quote myself, but I'm the one that made this quote up. So I had to do it. So forgive me for doing that. There's no other quote like it, but it illustrates the point. The speed of growth is 100% tied to the speed of implementation. The faster you do something, the faster you will grow. Think of a building. The faster they build the building, the faster they can have tenants. The faster they build a building, the faster that they can have businesses renting out the space. Obviously, there's some constraints. The constraints is you want to make sure that you're building to code. The constraint is you want to make sure that you're building according to the plan. And so those are the constraints. But outside of those constraints, the speed of growth is tied to the speed of implementation. So you want to make sure that you're implementing as fast as you possibly can. Next thing is an efficient process. People lose more money in inefficiencies than they make money. It is so true. There are people right now that I'm working with and people that I've seen that they lose 1 to 2, maybe even up to 5 clients per week in signups because they don't have an efficient intake system. If you lose 5 clients a week at $10,000, that's $50,000 a week times 52 weeks. That's $2.5 million in lost revenue every single year because of inefficiency. And we overlook that so many times because we never count the cost of the loss. We only count the cost of the spend. And we go, our spend was 100,000. So that was the investment. No, the investment was 100,000 plus the inefficiency. So if you had an inefficient intake process and lost 2.5 million and your marketing budget was 1 million, you actually spent 3.5 million. That's what you spent because you lost $2.5 million that you could have earned. So losing the earning side is equivalent to spending it. And so we want to make sure we have an efficient process. Documented policies and procedures. By about 6 million, you should start documenting all your standard policies and procedures. Super critical. We ended up hiring someone who from the medical field who used to work in policies and procedures, brought them in and started documenting the policies and procedures. You have to have documented workflows. So many people, they don't know what happens next. Well, what happens if this issue happens with the client? What's the next step? We need to have documented workflows to create the most efficient process that we possibly can. We have to have a seamless handoff between staff. I see this all the time in businesses that have multiple lawyers working on a case or multiple staff members working on a case. There's no handoff. The new lawyer just calls in and says, hey, I'm going to be working on the rest of your case. Well, where's the handoff? That doesn't make the client feel very good. I was working with John. Well, no, John's not going to be on it anymore. I'm the expert on the following part. Oh, well, I wish John would have told me. I kind of built a relationship over the last 6 months with him. Seamless handoff and seamless handoff between the different departments. Like some PI firms have the assembly line process. They open the file, they send it to treatment to medical records to demands to the lawyer's negotiation. There needs to be a seamless process between the individual staff. Number 4, training guides. Loom is a really big thing now. If you're not using Loom, it now connects to your Google. You can actually press the Loom button and it'll record a video and send it in your email jointly. So you don't have to create a separate Loom account to record and then save it and put it into the email. You can just record it right on the email. Record training guides. Record how to navigate the CRM. Record yourself talking about PTO. Record yourself talking about snow days. Record yourself talking about policies and procedures. Create as much training as you possibly can. There's all kinds of things out there. Thinkific, you can use Trainual. There's so many different products that you can use for training guides, but make sure you have written and video training guides so that you can train your team because you're going to be bringing in a lot of people. I remember at one point, we regularly were hiring 5 to 10 people per month, not per year, per month. And the reason is because you're going to have transition. If you have a 20% turnover rate and you have 200 employees, that's 40 people you're losing every single year. That's a lot of people that you're losing that you have to replace. It's 5 a month. And so we want to make sure that you're working on those training guides. The next thing is employment advancement opportunities. Your team has to know that they can advance in their career. If they don't know that they can advance in their career, they're going to give up. They're not going to stay around because they want to be able to advance. And so you want to have employment advancement opportunities. How do you do this? Job descriptions that describe their function. What is it that they do? So many people are lost. They don't know what they do in their job. If you go to your employees, if you have 10 employees, I challenge you, go back to your business. Just ask the question, do you guys know what you do? And you would be surprised how many people don't know what they do. Well, I mean, I think I'm responsible for making sure I have the medical records done and so forth. They don't know what part of the process they actually own. The next thing is, what's their purpose? Employees need to know what their purpose is. The function and purpose are two different things. The function of a receptionist is to answer the phone. The purpose of the receptionist is to create a warm, welcome greeting for the person calling in. The function of the legal assistant is to assist the lawyer in the management of the case. The purpose of the legal assistant is to be a sounding board for the client who is experiencing a traumatic situation in their life. You need to create descriptions for their job, their function, and their purpose. You need to have a career pathway. How do they develop? How do they go from legal assistant 1 to legal assistant 2 to legal assistant 3? We had a 5-tier structure in the firm. Every position had 5 tiers. So if you started an intake 1 to 5, lawyer 1 to 5, legal assistant 1 to 5, every position was commensurate with a certain responsibility, a certain amount of work that was required, a certain KPI, and a certain compensation. And we would guide people through this career pathway, assuming they wanted to stay employed with us. You have to have KPIs. Without KPIs, the employee does not know the expectation. What are the key performance indicators for their job? What are the key performance indicators for the job? You have to have KPIs if you want the employees to feel like there's an advancement opportunity. Culture. Everybody talks about culture, but nobody actually knows what it is. Nobody knows how to create intentional culture. I want you to ask yourself this question. If you were ever an employee, what was it that made you feel good about coming to work? Why did you go to work? Why did you show up every day? And it wasn't just the paycheck, because you could get paid anywhere. There was something else. And when that began to erode, you began to feel like you needed to leave. Culture is that feeling, how we get people into the building. One of the things that I have always said is that law firms should strive to create a culture where people want to come to work. They should strive to create a culture where people actually want to be in, where people forget that they're actually off that day. That's pretty cool. They want to create, because they're so bought in to what they're living in their purpose, that there's no days off when you're living in your purpose. There's no days off when you're functioning in your calling. And we want to create that level of culture. And so the first thing is the physical environment. If you have a physical office, what does your physical office look like? I have gone to law firms to do site visits, because I do site visits. And I walk in and I go, oh my gosh, people work here in this environment? Half the lights are out, there are cobwebs everywhere. It's uninspiring, uninviting. It looks like the type of place that was abandoned. And I'm asking myself the question, why would anybody want to come work here in that environment? Really ask about your physical environment. If you have a virtual environment, how do you create connection? How do you create connection between the team? It can't be once a week. It has to be something else. There has to be some connection point between individuals. So how do you create connection between team members? That's really, really important. Are the expectations of your team clear? If you want a great culture, the team needs to know what's expected of them. They need to know how do they win? How do they win? Number 4, clear communication. Is there clear communication in your business, or does everybody think it's chaotic? Chaos breeds bad culture. And the thing is that the responsible party for bad communication and bad culture is the owner at the end of the day, because you should be intentional about it. Is there transparency in your business? Do people know what's going on? Or are we hiding the ball? We're going to let them know last minute about everything. And lastly, is there radical candor? It's okay to tell your team they're not doing a good job, as long as you do it in love, as long as you do it without being a jerk. It's okay to do that. And the last thing that you have to have is belief. If you want to build an 8-figure firm, it's going to be rough on the uphill climb. So you have to have belief. First, belief in yourself that you can do this. Without belief, you're never going to be able to accomplish anything. You're just not. If you don't believe you can build an 8-figure firm, you can't. And if you believe you can, you can. It's very important that you have belief in yourself first. It's very important that you have a belief in others. There's a team waiting for you. There is a team waiting for you. There's 50 to 75 people in this world who cannot wait to work for your firm. You have to believe in that. You have to believe in others. Believe that they can do a good enough job to help you get to 10 million in revenue. And you have to believe in the world. You have to believe that there's plenty of business. This is a big one. I hear this all the time. There's too much competition. There is no competition. There's no competition. I'm telling you right now, there is zero competition in this world. There are plenty of people who need your services in your community that are willing and looking for the right opportunity to work with you. And so those are the 8 points. That's what you need for an 8-figure business. You need a solid foundation, predictable leads, intentional plan, leadership committed to excellence. The speed of growth is tied to speed of implementation. You need to have an efficient process, employment opportunities for your team, a culture where people want to work, and you have to have belief in yourself, others, and the world. And so what does this lead to? What are the results? Well, I wanted to put these results here just so you could see some of the things that I've seen with people entering this business. This person broke $400,000 for the first time. This particular person, when I started working with them, was generating about $60,000 in revenue. 2 years later, doing $400,000 a month. Another one, $48,000 contract for a 6-month contract. Onboarding 14 new people. No big deal. Who dis? Business as usual. Another one, that one went behind the thing. It's in February. Oh, this one was a good one. In February, they had generated the amount of revenue they generated all of 2020. This was in 2022. So in 2 months, they generated all of 2020. That was a really cool one. This next one is 640 leads per month in July. They were averaging about 100 and some change when they started working with us. The next one is 471,000 in a trust account. Talk about peace of mind. Remember, if you want peace of mind, this is what this presentation was for you. What's this one? First time breaking 600, almost getting to 700,000. Increased revenue by 70,000 this month. Again, best month ever. Increased it by 70,000 in a month. We'll finish in 225,000 in new money. And my favorite one at the end of 2023, 7.8 million in gross revenue. When I started with this firm, they were generating 1.5 million. 2 years later, they're generating 7.8 million. So for those of you who are like, oh, this is too basic. This doesn't seem like very novel. The novelness comes in the execution and you doing what you're supposed to do. And so several people have told us that we've taught them to structure and scale predictably, always fresh content, help them grow to 8 figures, new perspective, able to save $30,000 in 30 days, 40% growth year over year. That's what happens when you use this system, these 8 pieces of system. That's the key for that. So I mentioned at the beginning, I wanted to do a free offer. I'm going to do the free offer and then we'll open it up for questions. The free offer that I wanted to start off with was my second edition of the King of Growth. As I mentioned, I wrote the King of Growth. I added 20,000 words to the book. It has all the tips that I've learned from working with 150 law firms over the last 4 years and how to take your firm to 10 million in revenue. That's coming March 2024. If you want the free book, free audio book, email Kimberly at 8figurefirm.com. The website's on the bottom, Kimberly at 8figurefirm.com. Anybody who's on this call can have access to the free audio book when it launches in 30 days, Kimberly at 8figurefirm.com. So that's offer number 1. I said, you know what? We need to make this better. Elliot's group needs better. So I said, why don't we do something better? I'm going to offer you my 9 Principles of Exponential Growth course free of charge. Free of charge. 109. It's at $497. I had knocked it down to $197. Then I decided just to do it free. So the 9 Principles of Exponential Growth. It's 34 lessons, 2.5 hours of video content on how to grow your business. I deep dive into several of these topics. It's a 9 Principles book. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is enter code Luis360, LUIS 360. You go to 8-Figure Firm, you go to the section that says course, enter that code, and you're going to get access to that code free of charge. So now you have my book and you have the course where I teach you how to go section by section, and every single lesson has a worksheet. So if you fill out the worksheet, you'll have the entire business plan. That's the beauty of the course. You finish with a business plan. So if you want to do your business plan and you want me to walk alongside you with it, you want to get my course. And then I said, you know what? That's not good enough. That's not good enough. There's more. I'm going to do one last thing. This is a limited time offer. The last thing is we have a conference called Conquering Cash, Chicago, May 16th through 11th. It's an 8-Figure Firm accelerator. And I decided if you email Brandon at 8figurefirm.com between now and February 7th, I will offer this conference free of charge to anyone who listened to this webinar. It's a $1,500 offer for you to come to Chicago, Conquering Cash. Now, here's the catch. Here's the catch. I only want really committed people. So we're going to charge you the $1,500, but we're going to send you an email that says that you're eligible for a refund if you attend. because I don't want you to take a spot and ruin it for someone else. We're opening this up for 10 people. The first 10 people between now and February 7th that contact Brandon at 8figurefirm.com. The code is Empirical 360. Empirical 360 is the code. You can put it on the subject line. You will attend the Conquering Cash Conference, Chicago, May 16th through 18th. We have sold out every conference in the last 2 years. This one will sell out as well. I'm offering it to Elliot's guest. 10 free offers, $1,500. With that, I'll open the floor to questions.
First of all, amazing, Luis. Really appreciate that. I'll make sure to send it out, but I imagine that will fill up pretty quick. So for those of you on here still, I would jump on that fast. Second, open it up for questions. You have Luis here. We have a few more minutes for questions, so don't be shy. I know there's still quite a few of you on here. Ask your questions. Go to his website, book a time, talk to them. He's a resource here, so definitely open it up. Let's see who's got questions. Don't be shy. We always go through this process where everybody's shy and then they start rolling in at the end. Questions, unless they're scrambling to send emails. If you're a small solo struggling to retool, where do you start? I feel like that's a big answer.
Practice area?
What's the practice area? Probate litigation.
Probate litigation. So one of the things about some of these practice areas is you have to ask yourself, where's the complementary practice area that can be a feeder firm? So that's the question. Probate litigation is usually fed from lawyers who practice elder law or practice probate or practice estate planning who don't do litigation. By the way, most elder law lawyers do not do litigation. And so where you want to go is you want to, if you're trying to get probate litigation, you want to go to all the probate law firms, all the elder law firms, and say, I would love to do litigation if you have a case come through. And there's a formula that I call, it's motion plus intensity equals velocity. So your speed is dictated not just by what you do, but by the intensity in which you do it. And so instead of meeting one lawyer a week, I'd go meet 30 lawyers in a month. 30 probate lawyers, elder law lawyers, let them know you do litigation, love to take it off your hands, and you're going to find some people who want to do that work.
Huge. I think I know who that was. That's an amazing piece of advice. Must our firm not have previously gone to one of your events to take advantage of the event offer?
Oh man, everybody wants to go to our events. Everybody wants to. Look, here's the thing. I would prefer that if you've already had the experience, that you let someone else have it. With that said, come on, let's just do it.
There you go.
But it's the first 10. So, if you don't sign up and somebody,
you better go. I'm going to blast this out to everybody after this. And so that'll fill up. Steve says, what's the best, most cost-effective direct advertising for personal injury to get immediate leads?
So depending on your state, some states are better at this than others. Like I know Florida has excellent lead generation companies, but New York has terrible lead generation companies. So I think the fastest way is to sync up with a lead generation company. They generally will get you leads. The cases won't be that great, but the key is to build depth, build relationship, and then get better cases. Referrals always are the better cases, right? So, but you need someone to refer you a case. The second best way would be pay-per-click. That's the fastest way to get cases. It's costly though, because you're going to pay about $2,000, $2,300 for a case in personal injury. The third way is my friend, he had a strategy. He took all the litigation from PI firms that were pre-lit only. And he built his practice like that. He was taking every pre-lit case that was going into litigation and ended up developing a nice little reputation. And once he had that reputation, he started spending money in marketing. So those are the three things that I would do.
Awesome. I want to be cognizant of your time, Luis. If you have a hard stop, let us know. One person asks, you have a different paradigm with PI. How do they get their estate planning firm to 8 figures?
So estate planning firm, it's a great question. This system works the same for any practice area. Our fastest growing firm last year grew 94.5%. And they were an estate planning firm out of Virginia. So estate planning, the system works. How do they get their business? Digital. I can't stress that enough. You need to work on the 5 points of digital: SEO, pay-per-click, LSA/lead generation, organic, and paid social media. Those are the 5 points of digital. You should be all in on all 5 points. That's going to get you your best bang for your buck on the estate planning side. And it works for estate planning. And I have estate planning firms. I think we have about a dozen of them all over the country, and they are experiencing the same results.
Any advice for growing a family law firm?
Family law. I love family law. We talked about this at the beginning. I like family law because it's cash up front. The biggest thing is having your intake team needs to be salesy. You cannot have a 20-year-old college student on intake. You need to have a true salesperson who represents the firm, who wears a suit and tie, in presence. They have to have a commanding physical presence. Most family law firms lose their leads at the intake. Almost all of them, because they can't get people to come to the consultation. Really, really important. You have a salesperson at intake. That's probably my biggest piece of advice. The other thing is social media is by far the best place for family lawyers. Everybody has a family law problem and nobody knows who to go to. I get so many family law leads on social, and I don't even do family law. Like, people are like always, hey, do you know somebody for child custody? Hey, I'm getting divorced. Do you know somebody for this? It's like nonstop. And so I always redirect them to my friends. So I would say social media, big time.
Huge, amazing advice. I'm trying to just get them as quick as I can. Best advice for converting leads in a criminal firm.
So I have an 8-figure firm that does criminal. They do multiple practices, including federal law. When you're converting in criminal, you have to make sure that the value of your service is far greater than them going with like the Indigent Defense Fund or something like that, right? Because you're competing against the government representing them. And so you want to provide this value that's higher. Where do you find people who would rather hire a private lawyer? Generally, people who are ashamed of the system. They don't want to know. They don't want somebody to know they got a DUI. They don't want somebody to know that they got caught with the crime. Those are the types of people that are going to hire private lawyers. You want to have your messaging to those people. That's number one. The second thing is network with a lot of different lawyers who don't do criminal. They'll feed you referrals. Referrals are easy to convert. And then the last thing is making sure that you have a salesman who is upfront. Don't let your lawyers convert. They're not good at it.
Can you put the email code up one more time? That was another question.
For the conference, it's
for the conference, the course. Let's do them all.
So this is Brandon at 8figurefirm.com. Let's see if it's showing here.
I'll email this stuff out to everyone. We'll send the recording out. I'll send this. I'll try and put these notes in there for the course, the book, the conference. Another one, tips for an immigration law practice, family immigration for growth.
Oh man, immigration. You got to live on Facebook. Facebook ads all day long. Some of my biggest firms, I have a $15 million immigration firm. They spend 60 to 70,000 on Facebook ads alone. Big, heavy hitters on Facebook ads. Absolutely.
Do you help in your program? Do you help firms find digital marketing companies for business law?
So I have tried to avoid co-signing vendors because then my name gets on it. But we do have people that we work with that we recommend, and then we let you vet them and decide. So we have like 3 or 4 different places that we'll recommend, and then let the person decide who they want to work with. But the people that we generally work with, they subscribe to our philosophy of marketing.
What's the highest ROI marketing tactic your firm used to target the Hispanic market?
Radio, big time. Especially if you're in a market that's like close knit, radio and events will get you popping very, very fast. I mean, the Hispanic community listens to radio. They go to events. That's a big place to go. If I had to choose between digital and radio, I'd probably choose radio for the Hispanic community.
Serve empanadas. You're good.
I'm telling you, you just show up. There's a place here in Atlanta that's called Plaza Fiesta, and you go there, and they have events all the time. You set up a booth, you pass out umbrellas because it's hot all the time, and the next thing you know, you got all kinds of loyal fans.
Best advice for an immigration firm to go to 4 million and they're at 1 million.
Best advice is make sure you're on Facebook. Make sure you're posting on Facebook. Get really clear on the type of case that you're representing. Make sure your message is consistent. with that avatar. A lot of times, if you're marketing for general immigration, you're going to have a shotgun spray versus a sniper. You want to figure out what kind of case you want to represent. Like several of the firms that I'm working with on immigration, they represent only one type of case. That's it. Like that's they're like locked in to family law or locked into T visas or locked into something like that, locked into VAWAs. So you want to try to lock into something that you can charge a pretty decent premium. That'll get you there quickly.
Florida personal injury policy don't require BI. They send trash to you and satisfy. I think that's more of a statement. As a true entrepreneur, dealing with attorneys daily can sometimes be difficult.
Can I go? Can I address that though?
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand that, but you want to build depth. You get the client, it may be trash. They may be doing it for PIP, right? I understand the whole concept of PIP. They send you the trash, but it's a PIP claim only. The doctor gets paid. The lead generation acts like they've got you a good case. But it's your job to manufacture the referral. So treat them well, do a good job, get a referral from them, and you end up winning. It's a loss leader.
As a true entrepreneur, dealing with attorneys daily can be difficult because the legal industry is very much boxed. What's the best way to deal with not appearing too much as a dreamer in an industry that doesn't dream?
This is you are dealing. I don't know the context that you're working on in terms of you're saying that you're working with attorneys daily.
I think trying to like inspire them necessarily or build a vision is what the vibe I got here. If you can elaborate, whoever this was, I think you're still here. Dunia Bazi, if you can elaborate a little bit on that. Any other questions while we're here? We have Luis. He's being nice. He's going over time here. So if you have questions, I don't know how much time he's willing to give us, but if you haven't emailed Brandon, email Brandon. If you haven't got his course, he told me that the 8 points he covered, he goes an hour into each point. I'm assuming the course goes more in depth. His book goes more in depth. His conferences go more in depth. So he did it rapid fire today. We got a lot of high level gold nuggets that I was happy to learn about. So if you guys haven't signed up, I would sign up. How to inspire attorneys. The staff is easy. The clients are easier. Attorneys are hard.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was talking about earlier about how 10 attorneys are harder than 100 staff. It's hard to inspire attorneys unless you hire attorneys who are already inspired. And so my goal was I was always looking for attorneys who had fire in their eyes and attorneys who really cared about the client. So if you hire attorneys who are already inspired, who care about the client, then it's going to be easier to manage. A lot of times we don't hire those attorneys because we don't have the patience to wait for them because they are kind of unicorns and to some extent. As it relates to the attorneys that are not inspired that you had to hire, my philosophy is as long as they do no harm, as long as they hit their KPIs, I generally just let them do what they need to do. Come in, work, see you later.
All right. I don't see any questions in the queue. We'll wrap it up. Luis, any closing statements for the group here and people watching the replay?
I appreciate you having me on. It was hopefully it was enough information where you can pique your interest. Write down the list on the left side, say yes or no on the right side. For everything you're missing, start working on it. Tackle one thing at a time. And if you're patient, you can make it happen.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for the time, Luis. Have fun in Puerto Rico if I don't talk to you. And we'll see you on the next one.
See ya. Take care.
All right. Bye.